Good morning. Um, I remember I knew this woman years ago. Her name was Clara, and she said that I don't know where she heard it, if it was on one of those pop talk shows, psychology things, but she said there was this saying, it might have been even Dr. Phil, I was never a big fan of his, that people show us or tell us who they are, but we don't want to listen. And she meant like behavior. And I remember we used to talk about it, and we used to say, just take a step back and see how certain people or groups or whatever, how they treat you. Instead of like engaging, just take a step back and see, like, even like with one-on-one, like with female friends, if you're always the one that has to call up a friend and say, hey, let's go here, let's go there, let's do this, let's do that, whatever, and that person might be brushing you off, or they only see you like when it totally, like, like you're like the backup friend or whatever, you know, I had a friend that I call Sophia Petrillo that, like, when she had a bug up her butt to go do a certain thing and she wanted people to come along, I would say at least 80% of the times I went. And a lot of times it was not always convenient for me, or maybe it cost a little more than I could afford, but I thought, oh, well, this is my friend. Then I started noticing that, like, when I was the one that got the bug up my butt about a certain, activity or whatever, she, like, would, or she would cancel at the last minute to go on some date with, like, a weirdo from the internet. Not like a nice guy where the whole thing was planned, but like a last-minute weirdo thing. So, I remember at a certain point, I, like, kind of realized what she was doing finally after all these years, and I took a step back and I started mirroring her behavior. Like, in other words, if she would tell me, like, oh, well, thank you for thinking of me, but it doesn't really work with my schedule, I would use that response to her when it really didn't work with my schedule, or money is tight this month, or whatever. I would use her exact phrasing, and not to play a game, but like, I started being more honest. I can't afford this. It doesn't work with my schedule. I have other plans. Instead of rearranging my life for her. And when I started to do that, she didn't like it. There's another old saying, when you give them a taste of their own medicine, they cry that it's poison. Well, now, I used a female friend as an example, but I say the same goes for romantic relationships. If you are in a relationship, or you're, dating, or you're beginning to start a relationship, and you feel like, whatever, like, in other words, if they're showing half-hearted interest, then you show half-hearted interest. If they are fully invested in you and you like them, then you should be fully invested in them. And if they're just sort of brushing you off to the back burner, or something is always coming ahead of you, then you know what? Don't make that person a priority in your life, because they've already shown you and told you how important you are to them and how important the relationship is. Years and years ago, I went on a date with someone I knew from in real life, and I hate to say it, he was my ex-husband's. They kind of vaguely knew each other. They were but they didn't really work closely together. They just worked for the same large company. And it was a friendly date. It wasn't a romantic date, and it was like rushed, and it was casual because he was actually going to work, and it was like, I'll just meet you here and we'll have a little bite to eat and coffee at it was a Panera's. And, but we enjoyed the conversation, but he kept taking his phone out, like he was addicted to, I don't know, the internet or what. Like, he just kept taking his phone out. And finally, I put my hand over his hand, because I knew him for years, and I said, you know what? you really need to put this phone away. You could play with the phone when you're on, but no, we're here together, and at that point, I knew that it wouldn't go any further. I just said, even if I like overlooked it and whatever, he was going to keep doing what he was going to keep doing. A man that puts the internet ahead of his romantic life, he's hiding. He's either scared or he's not that into the woman, but like, in other words, don't hold your breath, because what he's showing you at the beginning is what he will continue to do, and it will end that way. And they're not going to change for you, especially if you're older. That old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So whatever you're being presented with at the beginning, and if you accept that, you're co-signing for always being the sidekick and never the main event. So everyone, have a great day. I know I will. Oh, and I'm never anyone's sidekick. Either I'm the main event or I'm gone. Love you. Bye.